Welcome to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today I'm going to show you 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figures, so let's dig in. Let's start with this bin on the right. The very first one is a battle-damaged T-Rex with the orange body and the brown top. This T-Rex is dark green in color. It's got some black detailing along its back, and it's got the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. This is the Yangchuanosaurus from the Dominion series. It's got the green body with brown detailing and the orange crown on the top of its head. Here we've got another T-Rex with the soft brown body and the darker brown along the top, and of course the button on the top of its head for chomping and roaring. This Dominion figure is a Spinosaurus. It's got a dark body with the red spine and the red head. Up next, we've got a T-Rex figure, but this is actually a hybrid T-Rex. You can tell because it has spines that pop out of its back by pressing this button, and the jaw opens and closes as well. Here is another T-Rex figure, but this is a gray-brown T-Rex. It's got some darker brown along the top. It's very adjustable, and you can open and close the mouth too. Way back here is a camouflage T-Rex. It's got some sound effects too. You can open and close the mouth, and you can do a chomping effect too. This is a Sarcophagus. It's got some short legs, but it's got the blue body with purple and orange detailing on the top. This super bright dinosaur is another T-Rex. It is custom colored, so it is a bright red. It's got some orange and black as well. Over here is a Scorpius Rex that I'm sure you recognize from the Jurassic World movie. It has two action buttons, one for the jaw and one for the arms. Next up, we've got a Tarbosaurus figure. This is gray and a darker gray. It's got those huge spikes along its spine, and it's got the red chin and neck too. This is a Siatsmicrorerum. It's got the orange body with the blue detailing on its back and head, and it's got some gray detailing along the back of its body. Back here is a Carcharodontosaurus with the blue body and the brown and orange detailing along its back, all the way up to around its eyes. Here is a Rajasaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It has a dark body with some lighter coloring along its neck, and it has an action button for chomping. Next up, we've got an old Indominus Rex figure. This one is smaller. It's got some battle damage on the side that you can open and close, and you can use the tail to chomp the mouth. Here is a super bright dinosaur. This is the Suchomimus. It's got a bright yellow body with the brown detailing along its spine, and it has two action buttons. One for the jaws, and one to swing the tail. Here is another bright dinosaur. This is a Metriacanthosaurus. It's got the bright red body with some brown detailing on its back and some orange on its head. Here's another Metriacanthus figure. This has a yellow body with some green coloring along the top, and it has the action button on its back for the jaw. This is a super cool looking Allosaurus figure. It's got the gray body with the yellow detailing all over. It's got some awesome looking red right above its eyes, and it's got an action button for the jaw. Right over here is the Majingasaurus with a green, yellow, and blue body, and you can use the tail to control the neck. Here is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This has a bright yellow body with brown detailing and orange along the top of its body. Here's another small Indominus Rex figure. This has battle damage on the side that you can't open or close, but you can still use the tail to open and close the mouth. Next up is the Irritator. This has a brown, blue, and light blue body, and you can use the tail to control the neck. I've got a Baryonyx figure here with a brown, blue, and orange coloring on its body, and it's got an action button on its back for the jaw. Next up is another Allosaurus figure. This one has a brown and blue body, and it has a slide lever action to control the jaw. This Jurassic World figure is a Baryonyx. It's got the gray, white, and blue detailing on its body, and it has the slide lever action to control the jaw too. Next up, I've got the Jurassic World Hammond Collection Parasaurolophus. This figure is a light tan color. It's got some bright orange running all the way down its back. And of course, it's got the iconic horn at the top of its head. Here is another Hammond Collection figure. This is the Baryonyx. It is super adjustable and posable, and it's got some pretty cool detailing all along its body. This is a basic Spinosaurus figure. It's got the dark green body with some white detailing, and of course the red along its spine and all around its eyes. Here is the Ceratosaurus figure in the dark green coloring with black detailing on the top and the slide lever action to control the jaw. Here is another Ceratosaurus figure, but this one is in the brown and orange coloring, and it's got a button at the top of its back to control the jaw. Next up, we've got the Extreme Chompin' Carnotaurus. This is a little figure, but it has a huge head, and it has a button to control the eyes, and a button for chomping too. This figure is from the Amber Collection. I believe this one is Velociraptor Tiger. As you can tell, it's got the stripes all over its body with the orange, making it a pretty bright dinosaur. I've got a few Dimetrodon figures in here too. This first one is a light blue with a red spine. I've also got this green Dimetrodon with an even brighter red spine. Here is a small Carnotaurus figure from Jurassic World Dominion. Next up, I've got a few Monolophosaurus figures. This first one is a soft green color with darker detailing, and this other figure is a brown Monolophosaurus with gray detailing on its body. Here is a baby Brachiosaurus in the light green color. Got a couple horned small dinosaurs here. This first one is the Zuniceratops. It's got some bright coloring on the side of its body, and this one is the battle-damaged Triceratops. I've got a few small Dilophosaurus figures in here as well. This first one is brown, blue, and white, especially on the front. And this other one is a soft green, and it's got some orange, red, and yellow on its body. This is the battle damaged Coelurus figure. You can see that you can press this button on its back to activate the battle damage on the side. Let's see what else I got. I've got another Monolophosaurus figure. This one is a bright green color. It's got some red on the front. And this is a Herrerasaurus. It is a gray-blue color with the white detailing along the top of its body. Of course, I've got a few Velociraptor figures in here in this first bin. This first one is a green color. It has a button on its back to activate the arms. And this second Velociraptor figure has its legs spring-loaded, so you can actually launch it into the air. And the last one's in this first bin. We still have one more bin to go. I've got a handful of herbivore figures. This first figure is a Minmi in the green coloring. I've also got a Sauropelta in the red and gray coloring with the huge spikes. Here is Ankylosaurus Bumpy from Camp Cretaceous. And can you guess the name of this herbivore dinosaur? Let me know down in the comments below. Now it's time for this second bin that will complete my 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figure haul. And I've actually got some brand new ones that we're gonna open up before we get into the bin. This first one is the Proceratosaurus figure. Alright, so this figure is mostly red. It's got some yellow detailing along the top of its back and neck. And it's got some lime green eyes too. It's pretty cool. Next up is the Jurassic World Velociraptor figure. This Velociraptor is orange in color. It's got some brown detailing along the top, and it's got those bright yellow eyes. Next up is the Jurassic World Atrociraptor figure. This Atrociraptor figure is the white and brown one that I'm sure you recognize from the movie, and it's got those evil-looking red eyes. And next up, we've got the Jurassic World Pyroraptor. I'm sure you recognize this figure from the Jurassic World Dominion movie as well. It's got a black and red body, and it's got those yellow-orange eyes too. Here we've got the small Sound Surge Giganotosaurus. It still has the green coloring with the black detailing along the top, and it comes with some sound effects. Here is another Giganotosaurus figure, but a whole lot larger. Still has the same coloring with a bit more detail with the black, I think. And it's got two actions. The first is for swinging the torso back and forth. And the second is for the jaws. This is a Spinosaurus figure that is dark green in color, just like the one we saw earlier, and it has the red detailing along its spine and all over its head too. Next up, we've got a Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. It is tan in color and it has a button on its back to activate the jaw. Here we've got another Carcharodontosaurus figure. We saw one earlier that had totally different coloring. This one is tan in color and it's got brown and orange detailing all along its back up to its head. This is a giant Indominus Rex figure with extreme battle damage on the side that you can turn on and off by pressing a button. I've got another Indominus Rex figure here. This one does not have the battle damage on the side, but instead the button activates the claws for slashing. Here's one of my coolest Spinosaurus figures. It has the most intricate detailing and coloring out of all of my Spinosaurus figures. It's got some blue on the spine, its eyes are a bright green color, and of course it's got the button at the top of its head for opening and closing the jaw. Here's another Sarcophagus figure. This one is green on the sides and belly and clay red along the top. Next up is an Allosaurus figure. This one is dark green with white and red detailing along its back and neck. And it's got the slide lever action to activate the jaw and sound effects. This is the Endoraptor. This figure actually has two actions. The first is on its tail. When you press that, it swings its arms shut. It's also got a button on the bottom of its tail to activate the jaw. And you can use the tail to swing the torso around too. This is a Megaraptor figure from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. It's got some huge claws in the front and it's got a red and blue body. Down here we've got a Stegosaurus figure that is gray-blue and it has some darker detailing along the top. And it has an action button to activate the tail for swinging back and forth. Here is another Scorpius Rex figure, but this is the basic edition, so you can't open and close the jaw, but you can still move the arms, the legs, and the tail. Back here is the Ankylosaurus from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got a bright clay red body with the brown detailing on top, and you can use the tail to control the neck and the jaws too. I believe this dinosaur is called an Amargosaurus. It's got the brown body with black detailing and the red all along its neck down to its tail too. And it's got two action buttons, one to activate the neck and one to activate the tail. This is a big Velociraptor blue figure. You can see the iconic blue all the way down its back and of course the yellow eyes too. Here we've got another Allosaurus figure. This one is tan, dark blue, and bright blue, and it has two action buttons, one for the jaw and one for the arms. Here is a large Dilophosaurus figure. It has a battle damage button on the side, and it's got some super bright colors all over. It's got green, yellow, orange, and it's got some brown detailing all along its body too. If I remember correctly, this is an Iguanodon figure. It's got some detailing of tan and darker brown along the top, and it has an action button that moves its head up and down. This is a hybrid Triceratops Stegosaurus. It's got some battle damage on the side, and its entire body is super bright. It's got blue, it's got dark blue, and it's got a bunch of gold all over its body too. This is a Suchomimus in the dark blue color with the yellow detailing along its spine. And it's got one action button to activate the jaw. I've got another large Velociraptor figure in here. This one is the orange color, and this actually might be the same one that I opened up earlier on. It's got the brown detailing on the top and the yellow eyes too. This figure, I believe, is the Proceratosaurus. It's got a tan body with gray detailing and the red nose and orange eyes. Here we've got another Stegosaurus figure. This one is in a light blue-green color. It's got darker detailing along the top, and of course it's got the action button for swinging the tail back and forth. This is a Triceratops figure. It's got the clay red coloring with the brown detailing, and it's got an action button on its back to move the head up and down. This is a small Spinosaurus figure, and it is super brightly colored with the blue and red along its spine. It's also got some battle damage, and you can use the tail to move the head around too. I've got two small T-Rex figures in here. This first one though is actually a hybrid T-Rex, a hybrid with a Dilophosaurus, and it's got this super bright orange and gold all over its body. And this second smaller T-Rex figure is green with the battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to control the mouth just like the other one. Our second to last dinosaur is a hybrid Stegosaurus Triceratops. This one is brown in color, it's got some yellow detailing on its legs, and it's got the battle damage on the side. And our final dinosaur of the 100 Jurassic World dinosaur figures is the Spinosaurus with the dark blue body. It's got the green legs and the red detailing along the top. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we're checking out not just one, but two bins of Jurassic World figures. There are 100 Jurassic World figures in here. Let's get started with this bin on the right. First up is this hybrid Indominus Rex figure. Even got sound effects too. Plus, there's spikes that come out on its back too. This is an extreme battle damage orange Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's got the battle damage all over its body, and there's an action at the top of its head to activate the jaw. Next up is the Stomp and Escape T-Rex. This T-Rex has a button on its back for the jaws, and you can use the tail for a stomping action. Here's another Indominus Rex figure. This one has a rubber neck while the rest of its body is a hard plastic, and you can use the arms to open and close the jaws. Over here, we've got a Terran T-Rex. This T-Rex is pretty cool because it has a button that activates the tearing action with its mouth. Look at that. That's pretty intense. And there's another button on its back to activate the tail. Over here, we've got a really cool Spinosaurus figure. This figure is pretty big, and it's got some awesome coloring and detailing all over its body. And like many of the other large figures, it has a button on the top of its head to activate the jaw. This, I believe, is called the Ciats Microrarum. It's got an orange and blue body with some gray detailing as well. It's got tons of spikes on its head, and you can use the tail to control the mouth and the neck. This is an orange Velociraptor. It's a pretty basic figure, so you can only move the arms, the legs, and the tail, but it's pretty large and still pretty cool. Here is a huge Allosaurus figure. This has the classic coloring for many of the Allosaurus figures, and best of all, it's got battle damage right on the side that you can open and close. This is a T-Rex figure, but with some cool coloring. It's got the red and the black spots all over its body, and the light underbelly as well. Plus, it's got an action button on its back to activate the jaw. Here's a similar T-Rex of the same size, but with totally different coloring, and actually, this one is a hybrid T-Rex because it has spines that pop out of its back, just like that. Next up is a Carcharodontosaurus figure. This figure is medium sized, and it has one action button on its back to activate the chomping action. This is an Albertosaurus figure. It's got the dark green body with orange detailing, and you can use the tail to control the head and jaw on this figure. Here is a medium-sized Velociraptor figure. It's a lot bigger than many of the Velociraptor figures that I have, and I actually have a few other that are very similar to it as well. Check these out. They're all around the same size and have many of the same features. This one is a light tan with green stripes. This one's darker colored, and this one actually has some battle damage on its side that you can press. I believe this dinosaur is a Pachycephalosaurus. It's got a dark purple coloring with some detailing along the top and an action button with its tail for the headbutting. Next up, we've got a smaller Indominus Rex figure with battle damage on the side that you can open and close. That's pretty cool. Plus, you can use the tail to control the head on this figure too. Next up, I believe this is the Spinosaurus figure. It's got the dark blue body with some different coloring all throughout. It's got those huge horns in the front and two action buttons. one to lift up its head, and one to swing its tail. This is a huge Pteranodon figure. It's pretty basic because it can't do a whole lot, but it has some pretty cool coloring on the wings. You can move the wings up and down, as well as open and close the mouth. I've got another winged dinosaur here, but I'm actually not sure what type of dinosaur this is, so let me know in the comments below. This big dinosaur, I believe, is called an Amargosaurus. It's got two huge ridges on its neck that go all the way down its back to its tail, and it has two action buttons, one to operate the neck, and one to operate the tail. Here's another huge Velociraptor figure. This one is actually Velociraptor blue. It's got these stripes down its side, and you can move the arms, the legs, and the tail on this figure. This is the basic Scorpius Rex figure. It's got the poisonous quills on its tail, and you can move the arms and legs on this figure too. Next up is the Pentaceratops figure. This figure is pretty close to a Triceratops, but it's got a huge frill on the front and a ton more horns too. You can use the action button to lift up its neck and to swing its torso around too. Here's a couple more medium-sized Velociraptor figures. This first one is a dark green with black stripes, and this other one is a lot brighter, and it actually has battle damage on its side as well. That's pretty cool. Plus, with this figure, you can use the tail to open and close the jaw. Here is a Triceratops figure with the clay red coloring and the brown on the top, and it's got one action button to lift up the head. This next figure, I believe, is the Spinosaurus. Also looks quite a bit like a Triceratops as well, but again, some big differences in the front. And with this figure, you can use the tail to control the head. Next up is the giant Quetzalcoatlus dinosaur. This winged dinosaur is from the new Jurassic World Dominion movie and has a few action buttons on it. The first action button you can press to flap its wings, and the second button activates its jaw. Here's a Dimetrodon figure with the light blue-gray coloring on the sides and the giant red spine on top. Check out these smaller dinosaurs. I think these are both called Proceratops. We've got one with the purple coloring and a little bit of yellow. The other one is light green with also some yellow coloring as well. This is a dark green and light green Sauropelta with those huge spikes coming out of its back. Here is a smaller carnivore dinosaur. This is a Herrerasaurus, and it's got an action button with its tail that opens and closes its jaw. Here is a Styracosaurus figure. It's got those two super bright circles right on the front and tons of horns around its head too. Here is the Shringosaurus figure. It's pretty odd looking. It's got the yellow body with the brown detailing on top and a super long neck and some horns at the very top. This is the Miragaia figure. It's got a dark body with some lighter coloring in the back and those two giant horns sticking out of its back too. Here's a smaller Triceratops figure with battle damage right on the side that you can open and close. This is a Stygimoloch figure with the dark brown coloring on the sides and some darker detailing along the top, plus an action button to activate the headbutting action. This is a Parasaurolophus figure. This is a newer one, I think from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the light tan body with some darker detailing right along the top. Here's another Pachycephalosaurus figure with a light tan body and the darker coloring along the top, and the action button on its tail to activate the headbutting. This is a baby Brachiosaurus figure. You can move the neck up and down as well as move the legs and open and close the jaw too. And here are two Gallimimus figures, one with a dark green coloring and one with the light tan and brown coloring along the top. We've got one more bin to go, but before we do, let's check out these brand new ones that I just bought, including this giant Dreadnoughtus figure. Let's open this one up first. All right, here is the Dreadnoughtus fully assembled. It's actually really hard to show even the whole thing on camera because it is so long. This neck is a lot longer than a Brachiosaurus, I think. Let's check out the head first. You can open and close its mouth. And you can move the neck back and forth. See that swivel right there? You can adjust the legs. And you can even move the tail back and forth too. This figure is ginormous, and it has some pretty cool coloring along the top and the sides as well. This next figure, I think, is pronounced the Rugops Primus figure. It's from the Ferocious pack of Jurassic World Dominion. This is a pretty cool looking figure. It's got the dark green body with the black tail and the black detailing around its head. And you can move the legs, the arms, the neck, and the head as well. Next up is the Jurassic World Herrerasaurus figure. This figure has a lighter green body with some teal blue coloring along the top, while its face is that dark green color too. You can open and close the jaws manually, and you can move all the other limbs as well. Next is the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Dr. Ian Malcolm. Here is Dr. Ian Malcolm with his fiery torch, and it also came with this small dinosaur. I can't remember the name of this dinosaur, but it's a pretty cool set. And next, we've got the Camp Cretaceous Soundstrike Pteranodon. All right, let's unfold those wings. This is a pretty big dinosaur. It's probably a foot long from wingtip to wingtip, and it's got a few action buttons as well. The first one you can press to flap its wings and get some sound effects. And the second button activates its jaw. Now let's dig into this second bin. First off, we've got an Indominus Rex figure. This figure is huge and has the classic gray coloring that you can see in the movies. Over here is another Pteranodon figure, but this one I believe is from the Amber collection. So it's got rubbery wings and a whole lot more detail too. This is another huge Spinosaurus figure. This one has the green body with the light underbelly, but it's still got the red spine and the red detailing around its face too. In the back here, we've got a T-Rex figure with the camouflage coloring. That's pretty cool. And this T-Rex has two actions. You can pull up on its tail for a chomping action, or you can pull down on the tail for a roaring action. Here is a T-Rex figure from the first Jurassic World movie. It's got a rubbery tail and a chomping action when you lift up its body. Here's another T-Rex figure with the gray and brown coloring on its body. It's very adjustable with its neck and its legs and its arms, and there's the button at the top of its head for chomping and roaring. This is a Carcharodontosaurus figure with the blue coloring on the sides and the brighter detailing along its back. And it's got an action button on its back for the chomping. Next is a Stegosaurus figure with the gray-blue body and the lighter underbelly. And this figure has an action button that when you press down right here, it swings its tail back and forth. Watch out for those spikes. This is an Allosaurus figure with a slide lever action on the top, so you can get a bunch of different sound effects and different roaring poses too. Here is a Suchomimus figure with the blue body and the yellow detailing along the top. And this figure has one action button for the chomping. Here's one of my favorite dinosaurs, the Carnotaurus. This figure has the red coloring on the side and the dark purple on top with an action button to activate the jaw and the neck. This, I believe, is another Sinoceratops figure. It's got the light green body with some yellow detailing on its tail and on the front as well. And when you press down on the back of this figure, it lifts its head up. This is another Allosaurus figure with different coloring. It's got the gray body with the yellow detailing. You can move all of its limbs, and it has an action button on its back to activate the jaw. This is a Ceratosaurus figure with the gray coloring on the bottom and some brown and red all the way up to the top of its face. Here is one of my largest Endoraptor figures. This figure has a few different actions. First, there's a button on its tail to activate the arms. You can use the tail to swivel the torso around, and there's a button on the bottom of the tail to activate the jaw. Next up, we've got a huge Dilophosaurus figure with the bright red coloring and the even brighter frills in the front. This is a pretty basic figure though, so you can't do too much with it. You can move the arms and legs and the tail a little bit. Here is the Iguanodon figure from Jurassic World Dominion. It's got the light tan body with some lighter striping along the top, and when you press down on this Iguanodon, it lifts its head up and down. Next up is a Cryolophosaurus figure. This figure has some darker coloring along its body. It's also got some brighter red detailing all the way up to the crown on the top of its head. And you can use the tail to swing the neck back and forth too. Way over here, I believe this dinosaur is called the Kentrosaurus. It looks kind of like a Stegosaurus, but it's got these huge spikes coming out of its side. And this figure has a slide lever action on its back to swing those spikes back and forth. Here is a Triceratops figure in the brown and blue coloring. Plus, you can use the tail on this dinosaur to control the neck. All right, we've got a Baryonyx figure in here. This one has the light brown and the dark gray blue coloring. And there's an action button on its back to activate its jaws. We've got another Baryonyx figure in here, but this one is super bright. It's got the bright green coloring along its side and bottom, and the brown along the top, plus that action button to activate its jaw too. Here's a pretty rare dinosaur. This is the Edmontosaurus. It's got some pretty cool coloring along its body, and you can use the tail to control the neck. Next up, we've got a Velociraptor from the Amber collection. This one is the bright orange and brown Velociraptor, and it is super posable. Here is an older Ankylosaurus figure. This one is actually a hybrid, and it has special armor plating that you can take on and off. Plus, it has an action button that when you move this leg, it swings its tail back and forth and moves its head too. I've got a few mini T-Rex figures in here. These are also older figures from the first Jurassic World movie. They're both pretty identical, but with different coloring, and they both have the action where you can move its jaw and its neck by moving the tail around. Looks like I've got some more Velociraptor figures in here. Check out this one. This one is dark blue, but it has the yellow and gold coloring along the top of its head. And I've also got these green Velociraptors too. This one is in the sneaking pose, and this one has some really cool detailing along the top of its body. These two figures are both Dilophosaurus figures. This one is the newer figure and is a bit smaller, but it does have an action button on its tail to activate the frills and open the jaw in the front, which is pretty cool. And this older Dilophosaurus figure, I believe from the first Jurassic World movie, it's a bit bigger, has battle damage on the side, and you can use the tail to move its neck. Here's another Stegosaurus figure. This one has the brown, tan, and green coloring, and it also has an action button that when you press down right here, it swings its tail back and forth. Looks like I've got 3 more Ankylosaurus figures, all with different coloring. This first one is brown and has the green and gray coloring on the top, plus with an action button to swing its tail. This next Ankylosaurus has the clay red underside with the tan and brown on top. And this third Ankylosaurus has the yellow coloring on the bottom with the green and gray on top, and a slide lever action to swing the tail back and forth. Here is another Dilophosaurus figure from the first Jurassic World movie, and this figure is super bright. Plus, it has the action on its tail to move its neck up and down. Here's another giant Stegosaurus figure. This one has a softer green-blue coloring, and it has the action button that you press down to swing its tail back and forth. Here's another Stegosaurus figure, but this one has the gray, brown, tan, and green coloring all over its body. And this one actually has 2 action buttons. The first one moves its head up and down, and the second one swings the tail back and forth. This is a Parasaurolophus figure with the light yellow coloring and the brown stripes, and it's got 2 action buttons. The first moves its head up and down, and the second swings its tail back and forth. We've got some more Velociraptor and Atrociraptor figures in here. First, we've got another Velociraptor blue figure. We've also got this purple and red Velociraptor. And we've got 2 Atrociraptor figures as well. We've got one that's tan and in the crawling pose, and we've got a bright orange-red one with the white striping. Next up, we've got a Sauropelta figure in the clay red color that can swing back and forth, so you better watch out for those spikes. We've also got this Moros Intrepidus figure with the light green coloring and the orange on its tail too. Here's another small Indominus Rex figure. This one also has the battle damage on its side, and you can use the tail to control its jaw and its neck too. This is another Stygimoloch figure. This one does not have any action buttons, but you can move its legs, its arms, and its head around too. And here is also another baby Brachiosaurus figure. This one though has the gray and purple coloring right along the top. And last of all is this Herrerasaurus figure with the dark blue coloring and the lighter detailing on its back and all the way up to its head too. Welcome back to the Amazing Dinosaurs channel. Today we are checking out a bunch of dinosaurs from my huge dinosaur collection. And I've even got some brand new dinosaurs that we're gonna open up here today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let's get started opening these up. First with the Baryonyx Grim from Camp Cretaceous in the Primal Attack series. Let's open it up. Here we go, let's activate the batteries. And let's check this out. So this is differently colored from the other Baryonyxes that I have. Comes with sound effects, that's so cool. And it's brown on the bottom, and then right next to its eyes, it's all red to really make those eyes pop out. Let's see what kind of actions these have. If you move the tail, let's see, you can get a chomping action, and you can also move it side to side for a slashing action too. This is pretty cool. This is about the same size as the other Baryonyxes I have, but I like this one. I really like the dinosaur figures that you can control the head from the tail, because it looks so much more realistic that way. That is super cool. Next up, we've got the, I believe it's pronounced Coeloris. I might be wrong, but it's from the Extreme Damage series. Let's open it up and check it out. All right, this is a pretty dark dinosaur. It's got that dark green body. A dark red, it's like almost a brown red color. You can move the arms, you can move the legs, and you can twist the tail. Right over here on top is the DNA barcode that you can scan to learn more about the dinosaur. And if you press the button right here, here comes the battle action. That is really cool. I really like these battle damage dinosaurs because it can change the whole look of the dinosaur with just a click of the button. And you can adjust its mouth too. Next up, we've got this dinosaur. It's kind of hard to tell what kind of dinosaur it is, so let's open it up and see. All right, it is a Therizinosaurus, and look how brightly colored it is too. Get this cardboard out. I bet you remember this dinosaur from the new Jurassic World movie with those huge claws used for stabbing and slashing. And look at the coloring. It's got a nice blue color on the belly and chest, and on the back, from the tail all the way to the head, it is a super bright red. This might be one of the brightest dinosaurs that I have. And you can move the arms on this dinosaur, and I think the mouth too. Yep, there we go. Next up, from our brand new dinosaurs, we've got the Monolophosaurus from the Camp Cretaceous toy line. Let's open it up. So this is a smaller dinosaur, but it is super brightly colored with two different colors of green, just like the earlier dinosaur that we saw. So this is a bright green on the sides, and then a dark green right on the top, and on the belly, it's like a tan color. And with this dinosaur, it's got a tail action as well. When you pull down the tail, it gives a chomping action. And you can move the legs and the arms, and that's about it on this dinosaur. But this is pretty cool. And next up from our brand new dinosaurs, we've got this Chaotic Cargo mini toy set. Let's open it up and see what dinosaurs are inside. I think that's pretty cool how they designed the box to look like a transport truck for the dinosaurs. Look at that, the whole thing, even the front. But let's check out these dinosaurs. First, we've got a minis version of Owen. Bingo! Look how small that is. But you can still adjust the arms and the legs. Next up, we've got this. I think this is the biggest dinosaur in the pack. This is a Stegosaurus. And it has the same coloring as the larger ones that I have actually, which we may see later on in this bin. Next up from the pack, we've got a special edition Allosaurus. And these are like pretty bendable too, which is interesting. Most of the larger toys are not very bendable like this. And you can even open and close the mouth too on this tiny little figure. And last of all, we've got this mini Velociraptor. And it looks like blue. That is so cool. Next up, we've got a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex with battle damage. Let's see that battle damage in action. That is super awesome. And all the joints are movable on this T-Rex as well. With the tail, the legs, even the ankles, the arms, and you can pose the head as well, which is really cool. Most of my T-Rexes can't keep their mouth open unless you're pressing the button. But this one you can fully pose. We've got another giant T-Rex. This one also with a posable neck, and it's got movable legs, arms, and a tail as well. And this one has a button on the top of its head that you can press to make it roar. Look at all those teeth too. And this one is darker colored. It's like a gray on the side and then the dark brown on top. Way in the back here, we've got a giant Indominus Rex. This is even larger than the T-Rexes that we just saw. This is a light gray color throughout most of the body, and it's got that darker coloring right along its eyes right there. And this has a few actions as well. It's got a slashing action with its arms, and it's got a button on its tail that you can press for the jaw. That is so cool. Right up front here, we've got a giant, I think this is a Brachiosaurus. Check out this huge body, it's mostly green. It's got a little bit of red on the sides right there. And then on the bottom, it's like an orange tan color. This Brachiosaurus doesn't have any movable parts, but it is pretty squishy and bendy. You can see I can bend its neck back and forth like that. Right up here, we've got one of the newest Tyrannosaurus Rexes from the Jurassic World Dominion series. Check out the size of the face on this T-Rex right here. This is huge, and it's much darker than a lot of the T-Rexes I have. Look at that, it's like a black color right on the top, and then on the sides a dark brown, and then on the belly it's like a light tan color. And the legs are movable, the ankles, the arms, and with the tail, which I really like, you can wiggle the tail and it moves his head back and forth. Plus it's got a button on the tail for the roaring. Right up front here, we've got a little Carnotaurus. This one's different from most of the figures that I have, but you can see that there's an action button on its tail for chomping, just like that. Plus a button on top, when you press that, it blinks its eyes. Not many of my other dinosaur figures can do that. And you can move the legs and also the tiny little arms as well. Those things are super tiny. All right, another giant T-Rex with different coloring than all the rest. This T-Rex actually comes with a face cage that you can put on. And then when you press this action button on its back, it'll break free from it, which is super cool. Plus, when you twist the tail of this T-Rex, it actually stomps its legs up and down. Up next, we've got a bright green Dilophosaurus with a bright red frills right on its face. Here is a Jurassic World quiz question for you. Who did the Dilophosauruses chase after in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie? Comment below. All right, here is the full-size Stegosaurus. We saw that teeny tiny little one earlier in the video. This is the full-sized one, and I think they actually have the same coloring too. With the brown on the sides, the light tan on the belly, and then those green tips. That's super cool. And this Stegosaurus has two action buttons. You can see when you press down here, it moves its face. And when you press down on, which one is it? Here it is. When you press down on this one, this tail swings back and forth. It's spring-loaded, which is super awesome. Right up here, we've got a medium-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex with different coloring than all the rest. You can see that this one has more black stripes that are vertical on it. And you can see on this dinosaur, compared to the other T-Rexes, there's a lot more texture on these. You can't move the legs or the arms on this T-Rex, but you can still open and close the mouth. Right over here, we've got a normal-sized Carnotaurus, still with the same bright red clay coloring and the gray bottom, and it gets darker to like a brown right along the top of its body. On this Carnotaurus, you can wiggle the tail to move its head back and forth and up and down and all that. Plus, there's an action button on its tail to chomp its mouth. Check this out. This is another Carnotaurus, but it has totally different coloring. The pattern on this Carnotaurus is really interesting. It's almost like diamonds on its side. And it's got that bright orange face. You can't close the mouth, unfortunately, or move the legs or the arms or the tail. But I just really like how different this Carnotaurus looks. The color on this one is totally wild. Right over here, we've got a short but super long dinosaur that looks kind of like an alligator, really. This is a Sarcophagus, and it has tons of teeth in its mouth. And the coloring on this is super wild too. It's like a dark purple on the top. It's got the orange and red specks right on the side, and then a blue-gray color on the rest of the side and all along the bottom. And with this Sarcophagus, when you wiggle the tail, it controls his face. How cool is that? Right over here is one of the scariest dinosaurs from the second Jurassic World movie. It is the Scorpius Rex. This dinosaur is super dark along most of its body, other than its belly, which is a bright yellow color. And this dinosaur has two actions. It's got the arm slashing action. Whoop, wrong button. The arm slashing action. And the chomping action too. Right here, this is a huge dinosaur. We saw this one earlier. This is another Therizinosaurus, but this is from the Jurassic World toy line. And as you can already hear, it has tons of sound effects. Let's see what actions it has. If you wiggle the tail, you can control its torso. And there's a button right here on its tail that when you press that, it's got that chomping action. How cool. And like the earlier Therizinosaurus that we saw, this one also has the bright red right along its top. Up next, we've got a large-sized Velociraptor, and I think it's Velociraptor Blue. You can move the arms of this Velociraptor, the legs, you can twist and adjust the tail, but the mouth does not open or close on this Velociraptor. But I still like this Velociraptor figure because it is larger than most of the other figures that I have. Most of the other figures are probably around this size, I'd say. So this one is actually giant in comparison. Right over here on the side, I believe this is from the John Hammond collection, and I think this is a Pteranodon. And this has super flexible wings. It's like all made out of rubber, so it's super bendy. And I do like the coloring on this as well. It's got that brown over most of its body, and then that yellow coloring right along its wings. That's super cool, and look at the intricacy of the coloring on its face as well. Up next, we've got this mighty Ankylosaurus with those spikes on the side and armor right on the top. You do not want to mess with this one in the wild. And it's got an action as well. There's a button to swing its tail back and forth with a super heavy end. I bet that would knock out some dinosaurs. Right on top here, we've got a smaller dinosaur, but don't be fooled. This, I believe, is a juvenile Giganotosaurus. It's got like this red purple coloring right along its face, and then on the top, it's got black with the white striping as well. You can't move the arms or legs of this figure, but you can open and close the jaw. Next up, we've got another Stegosaurus, but this one has entirely different coloring. This is a blue-gray color, and you can see that there's some even darker coloring right along the top. And on the belly, as usual, is a tan color. This Stegosaurus has only one action button. When you press right here, it wiggles its tail back and forth with those spikes. But on this one, you can just move the face. There's no action button to control it. Right over here, we've got another giant Velociraptor. This one is super adjustable, and it is a super bright green color. Look at the ways that you can adjust each limb. With the ankles, with the knees, with the elbows, everything is adjustable on this Velociraptor. Right over here, we've got another Baryonyx with totally different coloring. Unlike the brand new Baryonyx that we saw earlier in the video, this one has a gray body along the sides and the bottom, and on the top of the body is a dark blue color with like a little bit of white, and then right on the neck is a super bright blue color. And this Baryonyx has an entirely different action as well. When you slide this back and forth, it does chomping. Check this out. This is the Concavinator. And look at that bright red coloring right along its back right there. Plus, it's got the purple right there, and especially all over its head. This dinosaur is also fully adjustable. You can adjust the arms and the legs and the tail as well. Plus, it's got some action buttons. See, there's one right here. Let's see what happens. There's the chomping action. And when you press down on this huge hump on its back, it swings its tail back and forth too. Here is another giant Tyrannosaurus Rex figure. And just like many of the other models that we have, you can't move the arms or the legs. But look at the intricacy of the texture along its body. Look at all that different coloring from the dark brown to the light brown. There's even like a little bit of, it seems like orange or yellow in there too. And with this model, you can of course open and close its mouth and see all those giant teeth. Here we've got a model Spinosaurus with a huge bright red spine, and the red goes all the way down to the end of its tail. The rest of its body is like a dark gray color, and it's got the yellow belly as usual. And on this model Spinosaurus, you can open and close its jaw. Here is another huge and brightly colored dinosaur. This is the mighty Carcharodontosaurus. Did you know that these dinosaurs have teeth that are up to 8 inches long each? Those are some huge teeth. This dinosaur is a tan yellow color along most of its body, but right along the top we can see these bright orange stripes that go all the way up to the dinosaur's face, where the nose is also the bright orange color. And there's an action button on this dinosaur where you can chomp. Here we've got another miniature Carnotaurus. This one actually has a broken horn right on the top. Do you remember seeing that in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie? I know I do. This dinosaur is a dark green color along most of its body, and it's got the orange pattern right along the top of its body as well. And it is fully posable. You can move the arms, the legs, the neck, and the jaw as well. Right over here, oh, dropped one of them. These are both Pachycephalosauruses. They both have different coloring. They've got orange on both of them, but this one is a green color on its belly and side, and this one is kind of green, but it's more of a yellow green on its belly, and it's got those specks on the side as well. Plus, this figure actually has an action as well. When you pull on the tail, it has a hammering action. Oh, here's a different looking dinosaur. Look at those frills all along its neck. This is the Amargasaurus. This dinosaur is mostly brown along the sides and the bottom, but there's a lot of dark specks on the top. Plus, there's this bright red coloring all along its frills and its spine all the way to the bottom. And this dinosaur has some actions as well. First button moves its neck up and down, and the second button swings its tail. Here we've got a huge winged dinosaur. I remember seeing this one in the new Jurassic World Dominion movie. This is the Quetzalcoatlus. This dinosaur has some super bright coloring right next to its eyes and on the horn on its head and right along the tip of its beak. And the rest of its body is like a blue-gray color, except for its wings that are brown and a light tan. Plus there's an action button right up top. When you press it, it flaps its wings. We've still got some dinosaurs left. Here is the Rajasaurus with the brown coloring along its side and the dark blue right next to its neck and on those spines on its neck too. This Rajasaurus has an action. When you press down on the feet, it does a chomping action. That is super awesome. I think we've got some more velociraptors in here. Oh yeah, here's a few. And they're all super differently colored. This first one kind of looks like blue, but not quite. It has the blue stripe right there, and you can adjust the arms, and you can open and close the jaw. And notice, I think it has a little bit of feathers right on its elbow right there. That's super interesting. The next Velociraptor figure is a dark purple color with brown coloring on the top and along its head. How cool is that? And this last Velociraptor right here is tan and brown with a little bit of yellow specks. And this Velociraptor has an action as well. Its torso actually swings back and forth. It's spring-loaded, so it swings super fast. Let's see what other little dinosaurs we've got in here. All right, this first one is a baby Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it comes with a muzzle and a bandage as well. You can actually take the muzzle off, and you can open and close its mouth. This is a super bright green Tyrannosaurus Rex with that speckled striping along the top. This next figure is a teeny tiny Indominus Rex, but it's still pretty detailed. You can still see the texture of the skin, and it's got that brown coloring right along its spine right there. And this next dinosaur, I'm sure you recognize from the new Jurassic World movie. This is an Atrociraptor. It is mostly white, and it's got that brown stripes, kind of randomly all throughout its body. It's super cool and pretty scary looking. I think we've got a few more winged dinosaurs in here too. Let's check out this giant one first. This is actually another Quetzalcoatlus, but with entirely different coloring. See the purple that fades into like a dark maroon color, and the rest of its body is mostly this tan color. But like the other Quetzalcoatlus that we saw, it has super bright coloring on its face. Check that out. And of course, when you press this button right here, it'll flap its wings. How cool. This next winged dinosaur is a little one. This is a Dimorphodon. Most of its body and wings are this dark brown color, but you can see some orange stripes here on its head and on the bottom of its wings right here too. And this winged dinosaur is a Pteranodon with a dark blue color along most of its body and red detailing along the top. Plus, it has the battle damage right on its body right there. Next up, we've got this super weird looking dinosaur. This is the Tanystropheus. This dinosaur, I believe, resides in the ocean. And check out this super long neck. When you pull the tail, it swoops its neck down like that. That is super cool. And this is a bright dinosaur too. It's a bright blue color. Next up, we've got a dinosaur with some massive spikes. This is a Sauropelta, and it's bright red along the top and a dark brown along the bottom. And this dinosaur is actually spring-loaded, so you can twist the torso back and forth for that slashing action with its horns. Right up here, we've got a little Monolophosaurus figure. This dinosaur has a dark green coloring along the sides and bottom. It has that yellow coloring right along its back, and right on the front of its face, it's got that red coloring too. And with the tail, you can press up and down to open and close its mouth. We've got another super interesting colored dinosaur. This is the Protoceratops. And it's like a light purple color with the yellow striping pattern along the top of its body and along its face as well, right up front. Right up here, we've got a red Stygimoloch. This is a headbutting dinosaur, and when you pull the tail up and down, it has the headbutting action. How cool is that? Oh, I think we've got another baby T-Rex in here. This one is also a bright green color, and it actually has an action. When you pull the tail, you can control its jaw. Next up, we've got another dinosaur from the ocean. This is the Plesiosaurus. This dinosaur is mostly tan along its body, but it does have the dark blue coloring right along its back all the way up to its face right here. And when you press the action button, you can actually make him move his fins. Next up, we've got this green colored Herrerasaurus, and it's actually got a little bit of blue along its top too, which is super interesting. This Herrerasaurus is fully adjustable. You can move the legs, the arms, the neck, and the jaw as well. So it is fully posable. Up next, we've got this bright green Dracorex. Look at how bright this dinosaur is. I think that is super cool. And look at that dark gray striping along its back. But don't forget those massive horns on its head. This Dracorex is fully adjustable. You can move the neck, you can move the arms, and the legs as well, but the jaw does not open and close, unfortunately. Here we have a teeny tiny little Gallimimus with 3 different colors on it. Got the orange tan color for most of its body, and then the blue and red striping all along its back, all the way up to its blue face. And our last dinosaur is another super scary looking Dilophosaurus. This dinosaur is mostly gray with darker gray specks along the top, and on those frills you've got that bright red coloring. Want to see more dino videos? Click the subscribe button now.